Hey, 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 everybody. State of the market. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Um, Let me take a look at my camera. I don't like you looking up my nose. I think I prefer you looking straight at. Let's see if I can get this to work. Oh, that's kind of strange. Let me try that again. Go here and here. What is going on? I am Hans AI Albrecht. This is my new moniker. I'm kind of excited about the whole AI space. If you haven't noticed, I've been saying we're going to get an AI melt up for about, I don't know, 2 months now. Actually, I said we're going to get an AI melt up 6 years ago when Nvidia was $4, and it's $170 now. Did I put my life savings into it? No, I did not. Why can't I get this thing to work? All right, you guys are going to have to just bear with me a little bit. Okay. So let's see. We are going to talk a little bit about markets this morning. So we have got basically a little bit of strength here. We've had a little trouble getting through that 625 level on here. Let me get you a little screen here. That 625 level in the SPY. There's been a little bit of taco business, a little bit of let me see here. A little bit of taco, a little bit of tariffs, a little bit of saber rattling, as they say. And that's probably what's keeping us, kind of a little bit sort of muted, if you can say muted, with markets pretty much at all-time highs, but maybe a little bit on the muted side of things. And I think the market's just sort of, it's pricey, it's expensive, but it has this incredible tailwind of AI and productivity, the promise of incredible productivity from this new phase, which we call the inference phase, right? So if some of you haven't been here, let me show you my screen. We'll take a little look-see at markets this morning. If some of you haven't been here listening to my spiel for a little while, it has to do with AI inference. So what is inference? Well, AI training is really the phase that we've been in for more than 2 years. ChatGPT was kind of the result of that, many years of training. Then we started to realize the benefits of this AI training, and we've had ChatGPT for a couple of years now, 2.5 years, a little more. And so what that has meant is that people have come to the realization that these GPUs that NVIDIA makes and AMD and everybody else has these different versions of GPUs are very, very powerful because they are the sort of foundation for this new world, right? Your CPU, your old CPU in your computer was really good at doing one thing really fast, or maybe a couple things, kind of, depending on how powerful cores, things like that. So the GPU, what does the GPU do? It does many, many, many things at once. And why was that important? Not for AI, that was important for video games, right? Video games are very graphics rich. There's stuff going on everywhere, and kind of behind the scenes, very, very compute heavy from the standpoint of having to do many, many things at once. And so Jensen at NVIDIA kind of fell into this a little bit, right? He sort of fell into this in a way. Suddenly, the GPU was the go-to product in order to push AI. And so we see the incredible surge of NVIDIA over the last few years, and here we are. And so we continue to look at training because the Saudis are buying, people are continuing to build out data centers, build out their capability. So training doesn't stop. It continues, but training is more like, okay, I'm going to give you 10 million pictures of a dog. Actually, I read something somewhere about how, most the pictures out there, most of the pictures on the internet are like 15% of them are dogs and cats. People love their pets. So the training is, let's feed it all this stuff, and then the inference is, when we show it a picture of a cat, it goes, That's a cat. So the inference phase is incredible because it's where we have this potential, which is now what markets are starting to realize, but we're very, very early innings in this particular phase. So everybody who thinks, oh, AI's kind of run its course, they're not even close to being right. Not even close to being right, because we are maybe shifting a little bit into that inference phase, which is where it's going to be all around us, right? So the internet was a big thing. You logged into your phone, to your browser, you went to your computer, and you benefited from this incredible purveyor of information and things like, the productivity from an informational standpoint. Now we don't have to log into anything. We're going to be constantly logged in because it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be in your toothbrush, in your toaster. It's going to be it's going to be everywhere out in public as well. There'll be sensors everywhere. You will be monitored constantly, like it or not. And what is all this doing? It is now inferring from the data that it's taking in. We're going to see an explosion of data. What are we going to do with all this data? Well, people are going to have to figure out how to store it, how to monetize it, how to organize it, and all these different things. We're going to have more data in the next 5 years than we've created in the history of civilization, and particularly since the dawn of the computer. So, 60, 70 years of computing, we're going to just turbocharge that data production. What's that going to need? Storage, compute, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So inference is where we start to say, hey, what's going on? What are we going to do with all this data? So we are graduating from, wow, ChatGPT is kind of a really neat chat bot. We could find out a few cool things from it. Or, so the companies that you deal with now, you're always dealing with chatbots. It's a pretty fancy chatbot. This is so much bigger than that. And inference requires 25 times more compute power. It requires energy. It requires slicing and dicing information and making sense of it. And this is where our opportunity lies. And this is one of the things that we're going to be talking about. Now, are there stocks that are going to... So I think this phase is going to be fascinating. And it's going to be very, very profitable if you know what you're doing. And it's going to come with incredible disruption. Incredible disruption. So I want to give you just a quick example of, you can see Visa, nice little breakout coming back up. What happened here? Well, they got a little nervous about stable coins, right? So the idea that Visa, which is one of the greatest companies in the world, just an absolute monster of a company, brand, moat, is now potentially going to have to compete with something that is transactional and represents a real threat. And so the idea is that there are going to be disruptions everywhere. We're going to talk about a couple names here as well along those lines, because this phase of AI isn't going to be as simple as I'm going to buy NVIDIA because they're building the infrastructure, which I think is still very, very valid, right? Picks and shovels, right? You want to be in the gold rush, who did you want to be? Did you want to be the person that 1,700 people panning for gold, where like 5 people found some gold? Or did you want to be the store that couldn't keep enough pans in inventory and tents and overalls and supplies of every kind? Those guys made money. NVIDIA doesn't care if you figure AI out. I mean, it would prefer that you do. It wants to keep you as a customer, but it doesn't depend so much on the end user figuring it out. I'm going to talk about a couple of end users that may or may not figure it out. So this phase is going to be fraught with, puddles that you could step in, with piles of what that you could step in. And it's going to have incredible opportunity. And so, one name, for example, is Fiverr. So I love Fiverr. I've used it for years for little things, generating, whatever, pictures and doing a bit of, helping with presentations, things like that. It's fantastic for that, right? It's fantastic. You hire somebody in, India, Bangladesh, wherever they might be. They're of course they're in UK, they're in the US, they're everywhere. But you can source very, very cheap labor around the world to get things done that simply aren't. You can't justify spending 3 hours on something that you can pay $40 to get done for very little, and better than you can do it. So a company like Fiverr, it doesn't own the talent, right? It aggregates that talent. It's a marketplace. AI is now replacing the very freelancers that you are working with when you go to Fiverr and you connect with them. They don't own any of that talent. They have no IP there, right? They don't know how to do that work. They merely are a marketplace. So if you need a logo, $50, $40, $30. What about now? DALL-E, Grok, they can all give you logos. They can all give you thumbnails. They can all give you a fun little picture of Trump and Putin waking up and having breakfast in bed. They can all give you that. You can throw that in your next email to your friends. Not that you were maybe going to pay for that before, but all these things that people paid for, prepare a newsletter, give me an outline of, what I should be talking about this and that and whatever. That stuff can all be done in ChatGPT. Copywriting, presentations, even things that ChatGPT can do, just organizing your life, things like that. I mean, you now don't need so many different kinds of products, and most certainly some of these freelancer things, right? Editing a video, the technology is not as good as it could be at this point, but at some point you're going to be able to just press a button and it's just going to do everything for you. Well, guy used to charge you $75 for that. And what that is deflation in action, right? What does Fiverr do? They skim a percentage off the top of projects that are going to be disappearing. Or if they don't disappear, what's going to happen? It's not going to just fall off a cliff, right? There's going to be a slow degradation, like a denouement of this business, because some people will go, well, I can't really make any money anymore. Some of the top ones will still make money. President Trump denying plans to fire. There we go. And what does that mean? It's incredibly deflationary. It's incredibly deflationary. What happens when business gets really, really tough? Well, the guy who used to charge $75 charges $70. Then he charges $65 because somebody else is charging $50 and somebody else charges $45. So here we go in this deflationary spiral that I think is actually going to be a part of the AI boom as time goes on. Deflation in wages and eventually in goods. So this is, and if you look at that chart, look at Fiverr, and I used to love it. I sold it in the 30s, and then I bought some puts about 2 weeks ago. I think I talked about it on State of the Market, or no, it was Ticker Highlight. You guys shouldn't miss Ticker Highlight. I've nailed a couple things lately in Ticker Highlight. Everyone's been nailing some names. So you got to check that out. You got to read the emails when they come out. And then when we talk about them, hopefully it's not too late, but you better read those emails. So here we go. It's just pointing down. It's just pointing straight down. This is a problem. What's another one? This is one I wanted to mention because I don't think it's as obvious, right? So look at this. Remember Salesforce, how incredibly well it had acted back here and has acted over the years. It's been a fantastic stock. It's not acting that well, is it? It's not doing the NVIDIA shuffle, the Palantir shuffle. It's not doing those things, is it? This is an area that can get disrupted as well. So remember, this phase of disruption is going to be having to be in the right places as an investor and trader, and having to avoid certain places that are going to potentially be under pressure for a long time. Right? Its bread and butter, Salesforce's bread and butter is managing customer data, tracking sales pipelines, giving teams a dashboard to kind of organize their lives and make sure they're all connecting properly and communicating properly. What happens in this phase of AI inference where Claude does that for you? Where somebody goes, oh, I just figured out a module that I built with Claude or Perplexity, and it does that for you. And guess what? I'm going to charge you a lot less than the thousands of dollars you're going to be charged that CRM charges you. So what I'm getting at is that some businesses are going to disappear, right? There's Chegg. Chegg is like a tutor business. Are those guys going to be in business? No, sadly, they are not. The ChatGPT can be your kid's tutor. Maybe he's not going to crack the whip as much as your live physical tutor is, but an online tutoring business, their days are numbered. And with something like this, I'm saying some businesses are toast and some businesses are just going to really, really struggle. So when I talked about Visa, when I talked about Salesforce, does that mean they're disappearing next week? Absolutely not. And they may figure it out. In fact, Visa probably will figure it out. But what does that mean as an investor? That's not your argument. The argument isn't that they aren't going to figure it out or they are going to figure it out. I'm sure Visa jumps on board and figures out the stablecoin issue and all this stuff. But what does that mean? Are they going to get their big fat margins anymore? That is the question we have to ask as investors. That is the incredibly important question because markets are about stories, but they're also about fundamentals over time. And big fat profit margins are going to be rewarded. What if something very simple comes in and starts to mow their lawn and starts to make the transactional part of our world much simpler, and the merchants don't have to pay Visa their nice fat vig? Well, Visa might figure it out, but are they going to be making as much? So what we're talking about is margin compression. Margin compression. And I think that's going to cause problems in various parts of the market. So you're going to have your head on like a swivel, your eyes all in the back of your head and the side everywhere. You're going to need to look everywhere as an investor, and you're going to need somebody who knows what's going on. I've been covering this. I ran a suite of AI, big data, robotics funds for years, portfolio manager, pushed this stuff for a while, still pushing it now. Ivy League master's degree, did the Oxford artificial intelligence program, written articles on this stuff for major newspapers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Am I Jeff Hinton? No, but I am on the pulse, and we are on the pulse in Turbo Income of what's going on out there. And I want to tell you guys about a really, really exciting event that's going to be coming up on Thursday. It's going to be fantastic on Thursday tonight at 7 p.m. And we're going to be talking about how we take advantage of this. And we'll show you my record, which is almost flawless in Turbo Income. We're going to talk about a very, very positive trade that I'm looking at, that we've been doing a little bit of, but I'm going to be doing in a much, much bigger way. Because I'm going to show you a chart, an indicator that's been on my screen constantly for the last few months. And I'm watching it with great intent and interest. And when something happens, which might actually be starting to happen right now, when that something happens, it's going to be something spectacular that I think as traders, you're going to want to take advantage of. So we have the winners, we've got the losers. The winners, for me, and I'm going to tell you all about them tonight, are going to be more of the picks and shovels, right? Remember when I talked about NVIDIA, I said it's the gold rush for them. They don't necessarily care who figures this out. You're going to have companies that invest a whole bunch of money in AI and don't survive. NVIDIA wins. Other companies are going to win. There's going to be a fever to get involved in this. This is not going to be a nice to have. This is going to be a need to have. This is going to be like running water. It's going to be like electricity. We're already hearing about companies cutting costs in other areas to be able to invest in this. You're seeing big tech invest heavily in nuclear. Why are they doing that? Because this is going to explode. Inference takes about 25 times as much compute as training. So you think we were creating data before? We are going to create data on a level we can't comprehend. And again, some companies are going to take that to the bank and make so much bloody money because this is going to be a fever. This is going to be a mania. And the indicator that I'm going to tell you about is going to show when this is happening. And if you're not on board, you're not on board. And I've seen this before. This is not my first rodeo. I saw 1999. I've seen all these feverish markets over time. And I have seen so many people bet against a fever and a mania and get taken to the shed. This is going to be one of the most exciting times, I think, for traders and for me, probably in the last 20 years, I'd say. And it's going to be terrific. So we're going to be talking about major stocks that we don't like, but we're going to, of course, focus on the ones that we do like, that represent those businesses that are going to take advantage of the build out, whether it's for data, whether it's for equipment, whether it's for energy. There's not going to be enough energy. That's the nuclear push. We're not going to have enough energy. The grid, the power grid, is who came out the other day? They said they're going to invest, it might have been Meta. They said we're going to invest a whole bunch of money in upgrading the power grid. Guess what? The power grid is FUBAR. It's FUBAR. There's already evidence that cities with large data centers right near them are getting surges and inconsistent power. That's happening now. What's going to happen in 3 years with an old, dilapidated grid that is now going to have so much demand put on it because of what's happening here? So there are many ways to play this in, I think, in a very sure fashion. And I'm going to talk about it because I'm going to talk about my very, very favorite trade, which I'm doing a certain amount of right now. And we just closed another winner, 145%, another exactly one of those trades yesterday. Anybody who's in Turbo can confirm that. I'm sure we have some in the room. 145%. We are going to be stepping it up a notch. We're going to be kick it like Emerald Lagasse, that cook. We are going to kick it up a notch. We're going to throw some spice on this market, and we are going to play it like a Stradivarius. Do people still use that expression? Playing it like a Stradivarius, which, in respect to that beautiful instrument, you have to play it beautifully, or don't go near it. We are going to play this like a Stradivarius, and we are going to make some serious bank. So I'm very, very excited about it. I hope you guys are excited too. Let me see if there are any questions here. That is going to be tonight, 7 p.m. I think Christian's going to throw something in here, aren't you? You probably have already. Let me take a look. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Hans. You're not good at the administrative type stuff, are you? You're just good at making money. Ask anybody in Turbo. It's kind of the fun part, though, right? Again, I could just outsource the administrative stuff to Fiverr. Oh, wait. Now I'm going to outsource it to GPT. This is our new reality, folks. Our new reality is upon us. And you're going to see, actually, we're going to show you that I'm like, I can't believe it's happening. It is. I hope that doesn't sound cheesy, but it's actually happening. I've been pointing this out for a few months, and the moment is almost upon us. So going to be very, very exciting. So I'm going to let everyone go. I'm going to just check quickly here for a couple questions. I know folks have to get to different classes and things like that. Here we go. Oh, there's Turbo Income. And here's OP Live. All right. Christian, if you could kindly answer any questions, because my little browser thingy's not working. I should call somebody at Fiverr. Oh, wait. They're out of business. No, not to make light of it. There are going to be some challenges out there. But that's why you need to be involved, right? And I sometimes say this, I don't like it because it's maybe a little bit fearful. And I don't like fear mongering. I think we need to face this head on, but not have our heads in the sand, right? I think if you're going to have massive disruption, you want to invest in the companies that are at the helm of that disruption, right? You can't beat them, join them. You think you're going to stop AI? You think Jeff Hinton's right and then we're going to suddenly have some safety uh, oversight for AI? No, governments have already said, we don't care about creator content. Scrape it for the sake of AI. We don't care about anything. Scrape it for the sake of AI. Okay. We can't stop AI. It's an arms race. You don't want China to win. Kathy. Well, Surf Dance and Hogan. You must be in the know. Yeah. Look, I think power is going to be a big problem. And that's why, I'm going to tell you about one of those plays tonight, actually, that takes advantage of that. So I'm excited, folks. I will let you go. Thank you very much for coming. Everyone have a fantastic day. And we'll see you tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. Mark and I are going to be presenting, and we're going to give you something to really think about, something to be excited about, and something I honestly 100% believe is going to make you more informed and maybe a little bit smarter. Anytime I can do something that makes me smarter, which I look for every day, I like to do it. So that's what we do at Option Pit. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you, Mark, Jose, Surf Dancing, Ed, Carrie, everybody. Go get them today, and we'll see you tonight.